Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to That Generic Nerd, where I discuss my thoughts on books and games. Today we'll be looking at The Last Wish. The Last Wish, the first book of the Witcher series, is a compilation of short stories written by Andrzej Sapkowski, loosely connected by small framing chapters to provide an overarching story. The book is clearly influenced very heavily from classic fantasy, familiar fairy tales such as Beauty and the Beast and Snow White being twisted to suit a more modern exploration of fantasy. The protagonist, the Witcher Geralt, demonstrates this quite well. He is a professional monster hunter, drained of emotion, whose first act in the book is to kill 3 people. Compare this to the classical hero, an innocent with noble intentions who would never dream of committing such a crime like that. Sapkowski uses these reimaginings to take the overarching theme of good versus evil and pose the question, what if it's not that simple? The hero in The Witcher isn't purely good. The monsters aren't purely evil. The stories are bathed in greys, and Geralt struggles to make the morally good choices throughout all of these stories. He gets paid to slay monsters, but refuses if he believes them to be good. He gets presented with opportunities to manipulate townfolk and take their money, but refuses. But he also leaves someone to be hunted by a monster as bait so he can scope it out, showing a fair bit of complexity in his decision making. Sapkowski takes the obvious evil and makes it more subtle. Characters, for the most part, aren't making good or evil choices, they are simply making choices, acting for understandable reasons, really hammering home the idea that it is extremely difficult to identify what good and evil truly is, rather than how classical fantasy portrays it. The characters are a delight to read. Geralt has extraordinary wit, something that is definitely not brought up time and time again, and is seen throughout the book to be facing unwarranted judgment for being a witcher, supposedly emotionless beings who have lost their humanity, which he handles extremely well to my immense satisfaction. His chemistry with Dandelion and Yennefer in the later parts of the book is amazing to read. I really got the sense in this book that Geralt cares for Dandelion deeply, despite claiming to be devoid of emotion, and his flirtatious butting of heads with Yennefer felt extremely natural. And there's a reason for that natural feel, and that is the book is largely dialogue. Doing this gives the important characters distinct voices and personality, while simultaneously adding to the ambiguity of the world that the theming aims for. The characters in this world don't have their motivations on clear display, so the dialogue is constantly making you question what their intentions are and what's truly going on. It also helps make the world feel fully fleshed out. Small details are constantly added to the world as Geralt interacts with people while fulfilling contracts, making for nice immersion as we are slowly lowered into the world, and before we realize it, completely submerged. This book is a spectacular foray into the world of The Witcher. It allows us to see through Geralt's eyes and live in his world for a time through its terrific world building. Its characters are constantly engaging and make the stories that much more memorable and entertaining, leaving me wanting more. The stories themselves comment on good versus evil expertly, playing on classic fantasy to show the complexities of defining evil. I was left in a state of disbelief several times while reading. This book is 100% worth a read if you're interested in fantasy, and especially if you're already a fan of any version of The Witcher, albeit the show or the games. The only real downside is the overarching story is weak, as it was not intended to fit together so nicely, but the strength of each individual story is strong enough for me to forgive that. All in all, it's a strong 9 out of 10 book. If you enjoyed this video, you could like, share, and subscribe for more, hopefully weekly content covering books and games. If you have any suggestions for how I can improve, please leave them below as I am just getting started and wanting to get better. But that's all from me this week. This generic nerd is off to sleep.